Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bog Panda. I am Dr. Mike, at Official Pagan on everything. Joining me, as always, is the man who hurt Sean Whalen.
Hurt him bad. Didn't want to. Wasn't trying to. It was almost if I had, if my intent was to open old wounds, I don't think I could have done any better than
No.
what I did out of complete ignorance. So I'm like, oh, I really like ghosts, and you're in one episode, and that was a bad story. No, Men in Black, which first I couldn't even remember the name Men in Black, and then once I did, that was a big part that became a small part. It was just not good. It's just not good. But hi, I'm John Snow, and I know nothing about today's podcast. I also go by Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram. Welcome to Bog Panda. Mike forgot to mention that, but you probably figured it out already. Um, or maybe you did mention it. I don't know.
I
So
definitely said that.
you
Yeah.
said Bug Panda, but I don't know. I think you forgot something. Anyway,
No.
uh, what I won't forget is asking you to like and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. Get a chance to check out Hard No, the world's shortest podcast. And we're very excited to get out from underneath the oppressive thumb of our previous merchandise store. And we now have a fully operational show when we actually for our merch, for our t-shirts, when we have an idea, we actually post it and it stays up, which is a new experience for us. But it's bright and shiny and new. Lots of different things out there. You should check it out. There's a t-shirt there for you, we're most certain, as well as many other products as well. So check it out.
The floodgates are open now. More merch than ever. And since our Sean Whalen discussion, just to follow up on that a little bit, you have now watched Sleepaway Camp.
I have. Um, and it was intriguing in terms of, um, you had cautioned me, said don't read anything about it because I had never seen it, and I said don't read anything about it. There's a twist and it'll be ruined for you. So when but now I'm twist aware, and so it starts and I go, I bet you that's the twist right there. Particularly when you locked it in for me when you said, depending, like sometimes when it's on TV towards the end, you're really not going to know what's going on. I go, I wonder what kind of scene might be heavily censored. So so it was not shocking to me, the turn of events, the cinematography, the shot, the actual twist at the very end. Trying to be cautious myself here, not to swallow too. I was not prepared for that. It was not. It is an image that um, will be with me for a long time, and so it was good. But I enjoyed it. I have not gone through the whole catalog yet. I've kind of watched some reviews and discussions on the other ones and see where the actress changes
Yeah,
really
two and three, which are Pamela Springsteen, Bruce Springsteen's sister,
oh
takes over. Two and three are really good movies, but they're completely different. They're full on comedy with horror as sort of an afterthought.
yeah, it was good. I mean, I truly did enjoy it, and between both you and Sean were speaking with very glowing terms of it. And so I did have to check it out. So I recommend, if you've not seen Sleepaway Camp, you should do that, and you should watch it on a non edited platform.
Yeah, it really. I saw it on TV once. I'd seen it on video initially as a kid, so I knew the ending. And then I saw it on TV. And when I saw that scene on TV where it's completely cropped out, the scene to just somebody's face, I was just like, if I didn't know what happened here, I'd have no idea what just happened at the ending of this.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I know this show wasn't advertised as the thumbnail would have led you to believe we were
We're
going to
getting
talk
there.
about something else, which we'll get to. Maybe I'll find a way in the thumbnail to say, by the way, bonus content. There's some things there. But what I was again, and I don't think this spoils much. I have never seen um, uh boy, and I gotta think because of YouTube censoring things here, how to say it. But there at the very beginning, there's a character who's very unsavory. And he's the absolute wrong person you want to have working at a camp full of young children. I'm gonna leave it at that. The absolute wrong guy. And they waste like no time. They go from, okay, in case you didn't know, that's this guy's deal right away. The most unabashedly wrong guy to have at a camp full of small children ever. In everything he says, in everything he does, and every situation he looks to take advantage of, almost immediately. Just, and he's standing around a group of folks, and he's basically offering up his thinking on some things, and the rest of the counselors are just kind of like, okay, whatever, cool, which seems bad. But
I can see that take on it.
yeah, it's not much of a take. Watch it.
Your hot take on this.
I was like, wow, did he just say what I thought he said? Yeah, he did.
It was the 80s. It was a different time.
It was a tough boy. I'm glad the 80s are gone because well, I know you in the past on occasion have sported the short shorts. It was a fashion thing in a little while for you.
True.
I was never significantly a short wearer, but boy, in the 80s, and everybody in this movie, and this isn't just the female characters to gain a little interest. Actually, the shortest shorts are on the male characters, which is a look, I guess, but very 80s. That was my biggest take.
It is a thing that happened. I remember it. So
yeah, boy, and they yeah, it's there in a big way. But yeah, it was a thing.
So are you, in general, I feel like this is becoming the episode. In general, are you a slasher movie guy?
So I'm not a huge slasher movie guy. I mean, it was like the first Saw. I watch it. I definitely don't do a lot of rewatch. Um, I thought I was intrigued by Saw, the first one on that. The If you go, so I'm assuming like Hellraiser 2 would be, you consider slasher as well, I assume.
The later ones, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe not the first couple, but as it progressed, yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't get a lot of typical joy out of it. Now, something like Reanimator, I'm all in. That's good. But that's um a little different fare. Evil Dead, I like Evil Dead, but a lot of the Evil Dead stuff, Army of Darkness was my first introduction to the Evil Dead universe. I went back and we go through quite the journey. Yeah, and folks, we're never going to tell you what this episode was supposed to be about.
No, because obviously we're not getting there in this segment.
We'll just kind of cover all this other stuff. And so it'll be no surprise to you because the thumbnail is going to track. Everything's going to look good. Like,
this will make sense to you guys, but it wouldn't have the other way.
Not making sense to me right now, but it's cool. Like talking about it. But yeah, it's not like my go-to genre to say, and particularly, I mean, so like things like First Halloween, fantastic movie, enjoy that quite a bit. Never was a big Nightmare on Elm Street guy per se, and so I'd say now you, on the other hand, this is a favorite genre of yours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I grew up mainly on slasher movies as far as horror movies go. Like my favorite horror movies are just movies in general are Evil Dead and Phantasm, which I wouldn't consider either of those slasher movies. So I mean, Evil Dead leans a lot into comedy, and Phantasm, I guess, leans a lot into sci-fi. I've seen people describe it that way, which makes sense. But Phantasm is one of those things that's just not for everyone. It really doesn't cast a wide net. Whereas I see slasher movies as like pop culture things, if that makes sense. Like they're
Sure.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, it like I said, it's just not kind of like my preferred genre, but Sleepaway Camp, the main subject of our video for today, was
The main
pretty
subject of our tangent that took over the whole.
the tangent that became a show. So,
That's a
uh,
title.
but yes, here you go. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was clearly made on a minimal budget in terms of that. And then I read, or not read, but watched a couple additional reviews of the later ones. And I think particularly for the fourth one, the kind of criticism was, yeah, originally we thought they were just trying to recreate the first movie in terms of the feel, but then realized no, it's just a really bad movie in terms of how it was kind of shot and put together. And it's not because they're calling back to what you did on a more limited budget, because I think they took the first movie, you know, pretty seriously in terms of what they were trying to achieve. Where this one was just trying to milk the cow a little more, I think, to a degree, and any semblance to the kind of low budgety aspects of the first one were just due to lack of effort, my opinion. But at least from what I've heard, so
Yeah,
I've
they're
not made it through the full catalog.
yeah, two and three are really good, but they are full on comedies. It really sidesteps the horror stuff to where it's basically an afterthought in the movies. They are funny though; they're genuinely funny. They're very quick watch. They're maybe 80 minutes long each, and they're funny. It just keeps everything going at a really good pace. But it feels disconnected from the original, which is it has funny moments, but is a straightforward slasher movie for the most part
Yeah.
until the twist ending. It's a pretty straightforward slasher movie until then. Um, so they made a fourth movie, sort of, that never got finished. And there's a box set that includes the unfinished fourth movie, which is I guess the box set got pulled, or I don't know if it was a limited edition or was pulled or whatever it is, but that's a sought after collector's thing now. Then they went back and made a proper fourth movie because that actual fourth one was never finished. They made the proper fourth movie, which is the one that you're talking about,
Yeah.
where they brought Felissa Rose back. Personally, I'm a huge Felissa Rose fan. I did not like that movie though. So I'm with the consensus on that. And then at some point, they did do a longer edit of the unfinished movie where they used footage from the other movies to kind of pad it out and make it feature length. I haven't seen that edit of it. So,
Yeah, well, I think, and there's a good chance that, and you have like a signed copy of that box set, right?
mhm. Yeah.
I think from what I've been able to surmise so far, it had a little bit to do with the American Red Cross and saying, "Hey, that box set looks an awful lot like our logo," and
That makes sense. Yeah.
and so that may be why its distribution became limited. Let's say, but yeah, no, if you've not seen, it's quite the experience. Like I said,
It's a well, so I guess we'll give a little bit of a spoiler here alert for anybody on this tangent. The ending of it is why the movie's famous. The first movie, the twist ending, that was copied by dozens of other movies, sometimes intentionally as a direct parody, like in Ace Ventura. The ending of that is meant to be a direct callback to that, and then other times just stolen, like in The Crying Game, because that's not the plot of The Crying Game. They literally just steal that scene and stick it dead center of the movie, The Crying Game, which otherwise is a movie about the IRA. So it's have you ever seen The Crying Game?
I have not.
It's a movie about the IRA that manages to work in this scene into the movie, an almost identical copy of it into the movie.
Yeah, that was
So
the other breadcrumb you left me as you kind of led me into watching it. Was you had mentioned that this has been copied, and I go like, like Crying Game, I said so. So that also fed into me kind of figuring out that, and I mean, it all you know makes. I just kind of had the hunch. I wasn't bright enough to see several of the hints that were dropped, particularly early on with that crazy mom, that is a character very similar, in my opinion, to the same kind of character in Troll 2. There was a very like, are they acting? Are they just, did they bring kind of a person that just is operating a different wavelength in? She was quite the over the top. I mean, and inconsistent to so over the top compared to, I mean, creepy guy, you know, I mean, there aren't subtle characters here. They're all
Right. Yeah. This is not a nuanced film by any means.
So they're all kind of clearly spun into whatever they're intended to represent. But this one was so just disquieting and different and strange, particularly when you have, because I wouldn't have thought there would have been two well-adjusted children in that person's orbit, because that's your ongoing influence on a regular basis. I was quite surprised that the kids were, well, I mean, maybe one of the kids wasn't quite as adjusted.
So that's what makes it good though too. Like this often ends up on, I love list shows on YouTube. This ends up on any list that they can stick it into because people love talking about it. And the movie has such a big following now over the years. But what makes it such a good twist ending isn't just that you don't necessarily suspect that that's what's coming if you went into it totally blind with no idea that there was a twist at the end of it. But it does reframe everything that's happened up till that point, because there are obviously characters who knew this information. So that changes people's motivations when you go back and look at who was killed and when. So it makes it a smarter movie than the traditional slasher movie it kind of seems to be when you're initially going through it.
Yeah, and there's other things, again, not wanting, although we've done a pretty good job of giving a lot away.
Yeah. Well, I said spoiler alert.
Yeah. So it's a
spoiler alert to a 35-year-old movie.
That's right. I may be the one person on the planet that could at least have had a shot at being mildly surprised. But yeah, the quirky mother at the beginning and goes into overdrive to kind of lay some groundwork for you to kind of go, oh, I wonder why she did that. And I did. And when one thing was commented on, I was like, why did she do that? And then I was like, well, duh. now I understand. But yeah, it's a watch. So if I have a feeling, although this is kind of a culty movie, I mean, the folks definitely in the genre are super familiar. Any self-respecting kind of more hardcore horror fan absolutely knows about it. One, I have no self-respect. Two, I'm not like a huge horror fan, so both of those. That's why I get to pass. But there's probably a lot of folks out there that's not, if they're not kind of in tune with that, maybe they, like me, could be surprised, even though we're working darn hard, that you're not surprised at all.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's worth checking out if by chance you haven't seen it, like Kelly did, which is cool to go into something you've never seen before. So you ready to get into today's topics?
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bog Panda.